More members than Lewis and Clark.
When did this happen?
33. Who else? Sacagawea. Kajawas. You know, I've never actually met her, so I don't know how she feels. Okay. What was so significant about Sacagawea?
She could speak the language.
Didn't she know like the path already? And she knew the tribes, the trails, I guess you could say.
She come from the west, very good.
Yeah.
She had a child on the trip and carried the child with them.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine carrying a child strapped to your back the entire length of that journey? Taking care of it and then doing all of her other chores. Okay?
She was the keystone of their native relations.
Okay, when you look at her, I mean, she was an invaluable member, okay, of what they did and how they did it, right? Now, when you look at it, initially, she was just kind of like extra luggage. What they wanted was a man by the name of Charbonneau, who was a French-Canadian trapper who spoke some of the local native tribes. Except the problem with Charbonneau was he was a piece of crap, okay? He was not industrious. He did not want to work, okay? He wanted to have equivalent status as Lewis and Clark. This was a military organization. They're like, no, this is what's going to happen. All right. However, Sacagawea tends to like prove her worth all the time. Okay, she could go out and look at like certain things. The men are like feverish. She'd go out and do what? Oh, here's a local Indian. Yeah. Okay, let's make a tea, drink it. Oh, they felt better. She knew the path. She knew the animals. She knew what roots and berries and things like that were good. Right. In a lot of ways, they would have. Okay, and probably one of the coolest things about the entire expedition, something that might even be scripted, or might not even be scripted by Hollywood, is when they get out of the Great Plains, we talked about how much meat they consumed, right? And how game plentiful was. As they started to get up in the Rockies, what happened to the availability of the animals?
Less and less.
It goes down. Why did it go down? I thought if you go hunting today, you go hunting up in the mountains.
Because they didn't eat
Because when people started to emerge, what did it do with the
They
game?
ran to the mountains.
Exactly. Pushed it to higher elevations. Okay, so as they started to get up to the Rockies, they started to run out of food. They started to think, so wait a minute, we need to get a path through here. We need to find, or hopefully they thought they could maybe find horses to get them through the Rocky Mountains. Right? They needed food. They were starting to lose a lot of hope. Okay? Suddenly, they run into a group of Indians. Now, when they met Sacagawea and Charbonneau, they met them at the Sioux camp. Okay, what is now like North Dakota. Well, she wasn't Sioux. She was Shoshone from a long way away. When they met this group of Indians, they looked out, and who did they see? They were the Shoshone tribe. Okay, Sacagawea looks out and says, hey, that's my brother. And her brother just happened to be the chief. Okay, so suddenly it's like, oh, you need horses? Here. You need food? Here. They set up the entire expedition for them to get over the Rockies and make it in Washington. Okay, that was a great thing. Okay, so without that, maybe they don't even exist. Maybe they die in the wilderness. Who knows? Okay, Sacagawea makes it all the way back to St. Louis. She's going to die several years later. Not too far after they get back and things like that. I think it's something like cholera. Her two children are going to be adopted by Captain Clark.
Oh, sorry. Who is Sacagawea's children's father?
Charbonneau.
Oh, Charbonneau. Okay, sorry.
Okay, so when they so it was when Clark adopts the kids, he's actually the one child who's actually going to survive. He raises his own son, sends him to Europe to be educated, and live with a prince and stuff like that. So it was an interesting relationship that he had, with the family and stuff like that. Any other members you can think of? How about Seaman the dog? There was a dog on the expedition. It was a huge Newfoundland. Okay, that I believe it was Lewis's dog, right? And he talks about it in his journey and things like that. Different parts, and it goes all the way up, okay, and then back.
What was the dog's name?
Seaman.
Okay.
As in like a sailor. Right. Now, probably one of the most interesting members of the Corps of Discovery was a guy by the name of York. Did you come across him? Who was he? He was Clark's slave. Okay. Except he wasn't really treated like a slave during the Corps of Discovery and the journey. He was allowed to hunt, carry a weapon. Okay, he did a lot of different things. He was, basically like Clark's manservant and stuff like that. But he was treated with an air of equality throughout the entire expedition, okay, as a true member and things like that. He was also very unique, okay, because when the expedition was going deeper and deeper into uncharted territory, they're running up against these Indian tribes. And what had the Indian tribes never seen?
A black man.
They'd never really seen a white man. They definitely had never seen a black man. So they were floored. I mean, they would come up and they'd be like, hey. Hey, that's kind of weird. Right? And they were looking at him, and Clark, sometimes like York would pretend he was like the monster and try and terrorize the children. They talk about it in the journeys, and sometimes like he actually went overboard. One of the most interesting things about this whole thing, though, is that you're talking about a clash of cultures in a lot of ways. Okay, and part of Indian culture was how you received or gave hospitality. Okay, they also believed in the transfer of power and abilities. Okay, and how do you think that they perceived that you could actually take or get somebody's power? Sex.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so what happened is, and also as a form of hospitality, they would come in and the chiefs and the warriors would be like, wow, you're really cool. Okay, because York, he's big, he's black, I mean, he's very different. They're like, I want that power. Here's my wife. Go ahead. Okay, and so York just was a player across the United States and back. Okay, and the same with a lot of the Corps of Discovery, because they wanted the white man's power too. So it's like one of those sayings, okay, is this something that we would like, be a cultural taboo for us in Western society? Yeah. But for them, it was just what was done, okay, and what was expected and things like that, okay? The biggest problem with the sharing of the wives thing was the fact that the Indian tribes in this entire area were just rampant with venereal disease, okay? And the problem is you're out there in the middle of nowhere, how do you cure it? Okay, there's an old saying, a night with Venus means a lifetime with Mercury. What's that mean? Come on.
Was Mercury Venus's husband, and was he like very jealous and would like go after the person, and so it's kind of like you get the disease and you have to live with it for the rest of your life?
No. That's a good thought. Like a thought process. Okay, and I'm not sure, was Mercury like
Wait,
Venus'
no.
wife? I don't remember. Her husband? I
Mercury's
don't know. Who's Venus? The goddess of...
Mars. No, never mind. Sorry,
No.
Mars, never mind.
Okay, what is Mercury besides the figure?
STDs.
It's an element. Okay, when you look at the medicines that they used to take, they brought this up called Rush's pills. They came in this form. It was developed by a guy by the name of Dr. Benjamin Rush out of Philadelphia. And he made these pills, and then one of the major components of Rush's pills was mercury. Mercury has a nasty side effect of also causing death and insanity. Oops, raggy, right? Okay, so then Clark and Lewis were very fond of dispensing these pills because they had dozens of them. And they was like any kind of ailment. They had pills like to make you sweat, pills to make you vomit, because you gotta like do what? You gotta balance all the biles and stuff in your body. Okay, so they would give them these pills to cure these things, right? And one of the things about this whole thing too, when the expedition was over and they got back to St. Louis, both Lewis and Clark became very famous. Lewis becomes the governor of the whole like Missouri Territory and the Louisiana Territory and things like that. His behavior though became very, very erratic. Now he'd always been characterized as being melancholy, which if we were to kind of look at that in a psychological standpoint from today's perspective, he probably classified maybe as being a manic depressive. So here he's been taking these mercury pills for the last couple of years, and he starts to drink rather heavily. Ends up down in Natchez, Mississippi one night, and he takes a pistol and shoots himself in the chest. Okay, and commits suicide. Some historians have thought that what was a big factor? Yeah, mercury poisoning and things like that. Okay, so curing of the diseases and things like that, was something that, was pretty hard to do with.
What did you say the quote was? A night with...
The night with Venus, the goddess of love, equals a lifetime with Mercury. You guys have heard about the whole Mad as a Hatter and stuff like that too?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Poisoning in the hat.
Yeah, the Hatters would work in mercury, okay, making the hats and stuff like that, and would go, the what?
I think that was one
Never seen that show?
No.
Really?
It's so ridiculous
It's a good
that that would never happen.
Oh,
And then they make fun of
You
it.
should Google it.
I can Google it.
Google it.
Probably could.
I've watched it
I know,
sometimes.
every time I watch this one, I feel like I'm gonna die. Anything I do.
All right. Take a look at the map up here. Give me an approximate year that this map would represent. A little bit before 1825.
1808.
Very close.
I don't
What
know.
is this signifying here?
1845.
Louisiana
Louisiana
Purchase.
Purchase. What year was the Louisiana Purchase? 1803. Okay, you'll find these kind of questions on the AP exam and throughout the year and stuff like that. Basically looking at a map and saying, okay, this obviously represents Louisiana Purchase territory and stuff like that. So that's what you'd be looking to see. Okay, so you are a farmer. On your other side, the western side of the Appalachian Mountains. Where are the Appalachian Mountains? Maddie? What are the Appalachian Mountains? Find West Virginia. Right there, so come down, up and down. Down. Okay. So those are the Appalachian Mountains. Okay, you're over there in the Ohio River Valley. You've got a farm. You want to sell your stuff. Where do you want to sell it to? In the Ohio River Valley? No, because there's not very many people. So where do you want to sell it?
New York.
New York, Connecticut, because that's where the people are. But you have to cross the mountains. What are some of the problems with crossing the mountains? The mountains are big. Hunter, you're so good at this sometimes. What's that? The what? Snow, the weather. What else?
Wild animals.
Thieves, possibly. Wild animals, birds. Okay, is it cost effective? No. Okay, your crops get spoiled, whatever, things like that. Okay, so what do you want? You want to find a faster, better way to go with your goods. Roads are very expensive, hard to create. You already have a road, so to speak. What is it called?
The dirt. Mississippi River.
Where's the mute button? What is it? What are those? What are these roads called?
Rivers.
Rivers.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, a sex collection of rivers coming all leading into what river?
The Mississippi River.
The Mississippi. Okay. Now, what city is at the mouth of the Mississippi?
New Orleans.
Okay, New Orleans, right? Okay. The problem is who controls New Orleans in 1800?
The Spanish.
Spanish did. Okay, however, we had signed a treaty with the Spanish in the 1890s guaranteeing us the right of deposit. What treaty was that? What is it? Pinckney's Treaty. Okay? Now, with Pinckney's Treaty, that gave us the right to trade out of New Orleans. However, in 1800, somebody comes knocking on the door. Who is it?
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Napoleon. And he goes to Spain and says, hey, guess what? You remember that land that you got from us because of the 7 Years' War? I want it back. Does Napoleon get it? Yes, why? Because he's a loon and he's Napoleon. He's going to take it no matter what. So Spanish are like, I'll take it. Okay? Now, Thomas Jefferson has a problem. When the Spanish were next door, did they ever really bother us?
No.
Not really. Yeah, they were kind of out there. Sometimes they were a pain. Did they try and settle the area? No. Okay, they were a long ways away. There's New Orleans. Okay, and then there's way out to the west. So it's kind of having the next door neighbor that you didn't really care about. They're there, but they don't cause any problems. There's no late night parties. No police, next door all the time. But suddenly, you get a new neighbor. And who is it? It's Napoleon Bonaparte. Ruh-roh raggy, there goes the neighborhood. Okay, because he's going to rock and roll all night and keep you up and make you worried. Okay? Because Jefferson is worried that what?
He's gonna try to come in.
Exactly. Okay, what if the French suddenly fortify the Mississippi River? What if they take away the right of deposit? I mean, Napoleon's crazy. He wants to rule the world. Oh, this is bad. Can the United States stand up to Napoleon?
No.
No. So now Jefferson's dilemma has to be like, well, he's got to do one of two things right in his mind. What are they?
Treaty to get
A
rid of
treaty with the French saying, I love you, Napoleon. Not such a good idea. Or a treaty with the
British.
British. Okay. Now, does he want to have a treaty with either one?
Nope.
No. Okay, does he like the British?
No.
No. Who's he leaning toward?
French.
The British.
Jefferson? Oh,
Jefferson.
okay, sorry.
Okay. Now, Jefferson is going to send 2 envoys to negotiate the purchase of New Orleans. Okay, Robert Livingston and James Monroe. Okay, head to France. When they get there, though, right, they have to figure out exactly how much it's going to cost. What do they want to use for? I mean, how much money do they want to buy New Orleans for? $10 million. However, Napoleon's envoys say, nah, we don't really want to sell it for $10 million. What do they offer? $15 million for everything. Now, here's Livingston and Monroe kind of looking at each other going, it's like you walk in and somebody, you're buying a car and you look in the back seat and it's filled with $100 bills. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll give you 1,000, right? What a deal. Okay, so then they contact Jefferson. Mr. President, we have a deal. Okay, does Jefferson jump up and down and start pooping Twinkies?
No.
No, why not?
Because they found $5 million.
Exactly. Thomas Jefferson takes out his pocket constitution. He's looking through it going, oh no, oh no. Where in Article 2 does it say the president has the right to buy land? Oh no. Wait a minute, I don't think I can do this. What do we need? We need we need the basic, we didn't have a constitutional amendment. We have to change this. Tell him, Mr. President, we don't have time. It's Napoleon. He changes his mind rather quickly. So Jefferson has to act. So what does Jefferson do? He does what any red-blooded American politician would do. He changes sides. And instead of being a strict constructionist, he becomes a, oh, JK, I was just kidding. Yeah, we'll hold elastic clause. That's all right. We can do this. Now, was this a very wise move?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, why? 3 cents an acre,
That's pretty good.
right? I mean, you could go home with your couch tonight, roam through the couch, and buy 3 counties in Mississippi or something. Okay, some questions on why Napoleon actually is going to sell. He has problems in the Caribbean, specifically what and where? Santo Domingo. What's going on there?
They would try to get sugar.
Okay, there's delicious sugar. And who's working the sugar?
It's the French.
The French and the slaves. Because what happens there is a huge
Yellow fever.
slave revolt, okay, and everything that's going to happen. Okay? If you want to rule the world, what does it take? Money. $15 million will buy a lot of beans and bullets. Okay? So in his conquest to rule everything, okay, he's going to need some money. Probably should have invested in, I don't know, like thermal underwear, thick socks, but he didn't. Okay, British naval sea power. Remember, if you're going to get to Louisiana, right, and if you're going to like establish it as a colony, you have to contend with British Navy.
So, why is it that we call him Napoleon, like not Bonaparte, or like we don't call any of the presidents just George or James, but
Well, I call Barack all the time.
it's like we only use his
That's a
first
good point.
name.
I have absolutely no idea.
How many people are named Napoleon?
It sounds much cooler.
How many people are named
I'd
George?
rather be called Bonaparte. It's probably not Napoleon's brother.
Let's call him Curtis now.
Maybe a guess. You want to guess? I would say that if you look at every French ruler, they were always referred to by their first name.
Oh.
Wait, what
Maybe
happened?
that's carryover. I don't know.
What'd you say?
Kings by their first name.
I said something maybe about being like the name of like French leaders,
Oh.
kings and stuff like that. What do I mean by later payback? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So if he gives this territory to the United States, will we continue to be a thorn in the side of the British? Yes. Do we continue to be a thorn in the side of the British for decades?
Of course.
Yes, we did.
Never.
No? You probably had 3. I'm gonna ask Alan.
So awkward when he
One time I just got
Those things are scary.
He can never get away with anything there. Susanna Overture, who was he?
Discolored.
He was the person who led the slave rebellion in Santo Domingo, which is in the present-day countries of Haiti, okay, and the Dominican Republic. Okay, if you look at him, I think not so much in his connection to American history, I just think he's a fascinating case study because there have been very, very few slave rebellions who were successful in the history of the world. You know, if you look at over 250 years of American slavery, there's only a couple of very small ones that are successful. You go back in antiquity, you know, and you look at the Spartacus and things like that. They're successful for a while, but eventually they're going to be like viciously subdued. Okay, his is going to actually not last as long as he would have liked, but he's actually going to defeat combined armies of the British, the French, and the Spanish. He was an incredible tactician. He was a wonderful general. And he also had a secret weapon on the island. What was it? Yellow fever. Okay, it's close. Why? Well, it wasn't like he could control it.
No, I know.
But the natives are much more immune to it
Oh,
than the susceptible of the Europeans coming into that climate and stuff like that. Okay, so he's in power basically for about 11 years off and on. You know, there's different like phases. It's a very long, interesting story. He's going to come to his end though when the French are going to trick him into meeting. Okay, he will then be captured, imprisoned in France, and then die in prison. Okay. The question was though, as it relates to yes.
Why would he meet with them?
He'd been actually offered a position within the French government. Okay, and power and things like that. So. The American reaction when the provisional government actually contacts America and says, hey, guess what? We just want our independence. We're just like you. We should hang out. Okay? We just overthrew tyranny and European oppression. We're just like you. What's Americans' response?
Stay away from us.
Stay away from us. You're not like us. Okay? Why would Jefferson rebuff this?
Cause
Slave rebellion against slaves.
Exactly. It was a slave rebellion. What is the last thing that we're going to do? Recognize a country that had a successful slave rebellion when half of our country was enslaved? Okay, it just wasn't going to happen. There have been times in history that presidents have enjoyed hugely successful first terms in office. Okay? How does this map show this?
Jefferson annihilated.
92% of the electoral vote goes to Jefferson, correct? Meaning that he was very popular. Okay, very popular. We're going to a lot of times use political cartoons in our analysis of time periods. Starting in this one, they really start to become popular during the War of 1812. Okay, throughout American history, and you'll be asked to interpret different things. Okay, sometimes it's not as hard as it might seem. You can look at different things, but you might not pick up on certain things initially. Okay, who's this guy? Don't know. Possibly Thomas Jefferson. Okay, he's got the frilly thing there. All right. Darn it, Henry Nixon. Okay, and then you have something who's the American snapping turtle down here. He's biting this guy in the bohunkus. What's he have? It's a casket of beer, it's nails, whiskey, water, something he's going to do what?
sell
Trade with who?
British.
The British. Okay, but he's being stopped by, okay,
Embargo
so
Act.
this is reflective of the what?
Embargo Act.
The Embargo Act. How do we know this specifically? Oh, grab me is embargo spelled backwards. So tricky.
I bet you they did that on purpose.
You think? I bet it was an accident. Okay, the Embargo Act of 1807. Okay, it was Thomas Jefferson's attempt at trying to extricate the United States out of a ticklish situation. Alright? We want to be neutral. We want France and England to stop impressing our sailors. What's impressment? Forcing them to like serve in the British Navy and things like that. Okay, however, does it work?
No.
No. Why doesn't it work?
Because Britain and France don't care that much about us.
Okay?
Well, it didn't affect him very much.
It didn't affect him as much as Jefferson had hoped, right? It's basically like we tell the world, you know, stop fighting or we're going to take our country and go home. Alright? And we have to be self-contained. Is this very popular?
No.
Especially where?
South.
Okay, where goods are shipped overseas. Okay, in the Northeast, the Federalists are going to be very, very like opposed to this and things like that. There's a lot of smuggling going on and it's highly ineffective. It's going to be replaced by two other acts. Okay, the Non-Intercourse Act of 1809, which basically said, okay, we can start to trade with the rest of the world. We just want to trade with Britain and France. What's the problem with that?
They're the number one trademan.
Yeah, exactly. Those are our two top trading partners. Oops. Okay, then they came out with the idea of Macon's Bill number 2, which said basically, right, here we are. The first one of you, England or France, who quits picking on us, will trade with you and we won't trade with the other guy. So Napoleon goes, okay, I'll trade with you. That would be nice. Is he?
No.
No, the whole thing's a failure. Okay, all of these kind of are starting to lead up to the what?
War of 18.
War of 1812.
God.
Sorry, I just had to do that.
Oh my goodness. Maybe spelled Napoleon wrong.
What's that?
Jeez. I'm in danger right here. Shit.
Alright, now look at the election of 1808. What has changed?
Madison won.
There is no Jefferson.
Mr. Clinton.
Do you see a little bit of backlash because of the policies of the last 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so we see some Federalist gains mainly in the what? Shipping areas. Okay, so we see a little bit of change in there. Madison then becomes president, but we see pretty much a continued dominance by the Democratic Republicans. Oops. Okay, the Chesapeake Leopard affair in 1807. Okay, the Leopard was a British warship. The Chesapeake was an American warship. Right now, the British have been hearing that a lot of their sailors have been jumping ship and have been joining the American Navy. Why?
They were Americans.
We treat them nicer. That's basically it. Better pay, better treatment, things like that. Okay, this angers the British. Okay, and they basically tell the Americans, hey, we want our people back. The Americans go like, you know, it's their choice, whatever. Well, the British hear that the Chesapeake have four British sailors on board. So what they do is they pull up next to the Chesapeake, who's pulling out of port, loaded to go to the Mediterranean. There's stores all over the ship, okay, mainly like boxes and containers and things like that. Okay, the Leopard pulls up and says, prepare to be boarded. We're going to search your ship. Now, you're a United States military vessel. Are you going to let a foreign country just walk on and search your ship?
No.
No, so the captain says no. The commander of the Leopard then opens fire, sends a broadside into the American ship, killing many sailors. The Americans manage to fire one round back. Pop. And the captain surrenders. Right, the British come aboard anyway, search the ship, find 4 British deserters. Okay, 3 of them are American born who joined the British Navy. The other was a British subject who had then defected to the American Navy. He's going to be executed. The other guys are sentenced to 500 lashes apiece.
Oh.
Okay? Now, is this an act of war?
Yeah.
you're a sovereign nation, your ship has been attacked, unprovoked, and things like that. Yes, you would consider this to be an act of war. Okay, is Jefferson gonna like take this and say, yes, we need to go to war? No. Why? Because he knows we're not in a position to do it. However, is this gonna fuel the whole like spin up into the War of 1812? Okay, yes it is. One of the interesting side notes about this whole thing is gonna be a guy by the name of Stephen Decatur. Decatur is one of America's like greatest naval heroes. If you go to the Naval Academy today, you know, there's plaques and things like that with him. Okay, very famous, incredible fighting spirit.
My middle school was named after him.
In Maryland or?
In Italy. It's
Oh,
a
okay.
military base.
That makes sense. Okay. So Decatur then, he was famous during the Fleeing War of France for his naval exploits. Most importantly, or like famous, I guess, was his attack in the war in the Barbary Coast Wars. He helps recapture an American vessel known as the Cincinnati. Okay, very brave, jumping into the middle of the fray and things like that. Okay, so he comes out of it a big hero. One of my favorite quotes from Stephen Decatur is, "Our country in her intercourse with foreign nations, may she always be in the right, but our country, right or wrong." Okay, the reason I kind of throw him in there was because he becomes a naval commodore. The captain of the Chesapeake is going to be relieved of duty for about 5 years. Okay, and then allowed back in the Navy. Well, Decatur makes some disparaging remarks about him and the incident with the leopard. Okay, the Commodore then does what? Come on, what does he do? Challenges him to a duel. Okay, so here we have both guys are going to get up and square off against each other. Okay, and it's not like the whole like pace and like turn and fire. They basically stand about 10 paces away from each other. They give the order. Okay, they lower their weapons and then fire.
They both die.
Well, they both shoot each other. Decatur is going to be shot in the pelvic bone. Okay, incredibly painful and stuff like that. He will die. The other guy actually lives. But it's kind of a crazy way. I mean, for him to go through all of this and to die because he decided I want to duel. Okay. Okay, territorial growth map by 1810. What do we notice the inclusion of? The Louisiana churches purchased for what else?
Part of Louisiana and
We start to see the organization of territories. Okay, on their way to becoming states. Okay, you'll also see disputed areas up in here. Okay, that's going to take a while to actually clarify the disputes. By 1811, okay, the relations between the United States and Great Britain become very, very strained. There is a group of young men who start to emerge in Congress, in the House of Representatives, known as the War Hawks. Okay, where do the War Hawks come from?
The West and the South.
The West and the South. Why the West and the South?
Because they're more pro-human.
Okay, yes, you're right. And what else?
Because they're being raided by Native Americans.
Yeah, supposedly backed by the British. Okay, what else?
They don't really have an invested interest in trade with Britain as much as they do on the East.
Exactly. Everybody catch that? Okay, so they're not going to come from the north mainly because of economic reasons. What do these guys want? Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. You guys are weak sauce. You never heard the song?
No, I remember it now.
Seriously?
See Rush Hour? Jackie Chan? Good God, y'all.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what he's singing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I remember that.
Okay, they demand a war against Britain. Why? Because once again we lust for O Canada.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh.
Okay, and then we also look south and we say, hey, Florida might not be too bad. One day the mouse might be down there.
The what?
The mouse.
Napoleon.
That was a Disney reference. Amanda's
Oh.
thinking.
Other than
Okay, I get it now.
The House of Mouse.
Disney.
Disney World.
Good, yeah.
Disneyland.
Why actually actually do we want to acquire Florida? Do we envision like old age homes or what?
There's Disney World.
No. Florida is becoming a haven for escaped slaves and renegade Indians. Okay, specifically the Seminoles. So if we could own it, we could stop it. Okay, now the three individuals that I'm going to talk about now, okay, are going to dominate American politics for the next almost 50 years. Okay? John C. Calhoun, each is going to represent a region of the United States. Okay? Calhoun comes out of South Carolina. Okay, the handsome gent right here with the slightly emo appearance.
He's my Apush husband. True.
Right?
Yeah?
See?
Yeah, let's see our claims him, so. Yeah.
Dibs.
So the person who gave me this tie thought Alexander Hamilton was like history's hottie.
Oh my goodness.
So that's why she gave me the
Wait till
tie.
he gets old fussy feathers.
Right? Yeah, the next guy is going to be from the north. His name is Daniel Webster from Massachusetts. And last but not least, representing the west is going to be Henry Clay out of Kentucky. Okay, these guys are going to dominate everything through the House of Representatives, through the cabinet, through the Senate. They're going to be everything but President of the United States, and all of them want it. They're going to be vice presidents, president pro tems, the Senate, speakers of the House, cabinet ministers. They're going to pretty much run roughshod over every president with the exception of Andrew Jackson over about a 4-year span.
Jackson's scary.
He is. Okay. They are actually still alive, kept underneath the Capitol building in a secret room, in glass cases. Same case of emergency, break glass.
That'd be really creepy. Like, in an empty room.
Probably easier than that. Okay, write this down, please. Okay, tomorrow we are going to be discussing 1812 and following American foreign policy. So in other words, to get a leg up on that discussion, I want you to explain the following. Okay, tell me what the dates of the war are. Past, just saying it was in 1812. Okay, who was the president? What were the causes of the War of 1812? Write down any important military events, what the name of the treaty was, or the terms of the treaty, and why was the War of 1812 significant. We've got about 15 minutes left in class. Okay.